with regards to recognizing allusions, we can often recognize these even just reading our English Bibles. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't take, sophistication or extra training even to recognize allusions. I mean, that's why our English Bibles often have references with the little tiny superscript letters in there to tell us where the author might be referring back to. Mm-hmm. We become sensitized to it, and we can have various levels of understanding. So I like to use the illustration of thick and thin. I once was accused of being arrogant for using this, but it's pretty common in literary circles to talk about we can have a thin understanding where you can understand a text without understanding what it's alluding to or what it's referring back to. In other words, it has coherence in and of itself. Read Romans 8, and surely you walk away understanding to some degree what Paul has said. Now, understand what Paul may have been referring to in the background or even in the subtext that's underneath all that. And then you have a much thicker understanding of what he's doing. And so I like to express that in the sense of thin versus thick, and you still have understanding in a Van Tillian sense even. You don't have to have 100% awareness of something in order to have truth communicated. But what this does is it really does help us understand what an author is saying and the background for that. Not to get overly technical here, but the technical term that's used in the discipline of intertextuality that is used in this book is metalepsis, or transumption for change. But metalepsis just means when an author is quoting or subtly citing or alluding or echoing an earlier author, he's cueing you in to recognize that whole text. So in the triumphal entry, when John in chapter 12 of the Gospel quotes Psalm 118, the most quoted or alluded to psalm in the New Testament, not Psalm 110, as most people think, he's taking you back to that whole psalm, which is a gate entry.
Yeah.
And which is originally probably a victorious king marching in, knocking on the gate, saying, "Open up the gates, behold your king," and then being allowed to come in once he makes a creedal statement. And so if you begin to read that in the context of John 12 and understand the fuller context of Psalm 118, then it really opens up your mind with regards to what's going on in the triumphal entry.